Ever wondered how to build a quiz app that actually works with scoring feedback and zero bugs? In the next few minutes, I'll show you how to do it all with React.js, even if you're just starting out. Alright, now first things first, let's create our React app. npm create vid @latest dot. So we're going to choose React and plain JavaScript. Use roll down vid, no, and install with npm and start, no. So let's install our node modules folder using npm install command. Very good. Now, the first thing we need to do is to run our app using npm run dev command. So now our app is running on port localhost 5173. So let's start the app. Our app is working fine. Let's go to our src folder. Let's delete this assets folder. Let's delete app.css. And let's open app.jsx and erase everything inside that. And let's go to index.css and we're going to erase everything inside that as well. And for app.jsx, we're going to actually create a snippet using rafce. So now we are ready to create our component, our quiz component. So let's give it a class name of app. So this is actually our container. Or you know what? We don't actually need to give this one anything. Let's just make this one empty. So this is actually our fragment, and we should create our app inside this fragment. So let's create a div here, and we're gonna give it a class of card container. And inside card container, we're gonna create another div with the class of header. Inside header, let's create an h1 with Kodiark quiz app. Very good. Now let's go for let's create a p tag. So inside the p tag, we say which keyword is used to declare a constant in JavaScript. So this is our sample question. And now under the div, the header div, let's create actually a UL with the class of questions. Inside the UL, we're going to create LIs. So the first li is var. The second one should be const. The third one should be let. And the fourth one should be static. So these are our options. These are the answers actually. So now under the UL, let's create the button, and the button should, inside the button, we should write next question. That's it. Very good. Now we are ready to go for the style, and the style is not going to be difficult. But before we go for styling, let's go to Google Fonts to get the Poppins font. So let's go here and let's go to get font and get embed code, and here click on this import, and inside that copy the whole thing right here inside this style, and then let's go to index.css and paste it right here like this. So very good. Now let's give our project a default margin of 0, padding of 0, a box sizing of border box, and a font family of Poppins, and a list style and a list style of none. Now let's go for the body. The body have a display of flex and a justify content of center, align items of center, and a height of 100 view height. And let's give it a background color of 2935 3C. Let's give it a color of CCC. Very good. Now let's go for the card container, which is actually this div, the card container. So we're going to give it a background color of 44, 57, and 60. Let's give it a padding of 24 pixels and 30 pixels, 24 pixels from top and bottom, 30 pixels from right and left. The border radius should be 8 pixels. And let's give it a width of 500 pixels. So the card container has actually 500 pixels border width. All right, now let's go for the header. So we say card container and header. It should have a margin bottom of 20 pixels. So there's a margin bottom from this box. And then after that, let's go for header H1. The H1 should have a font size of 24 pixels, so it's a little bit smaller. And let's go for the P tag. It should have a font size of 17 pixels, so it's a little bit bigger. And the letter spacing should be 1 pixel. And the color DFEBF6. And let's give it a margin of 4 pixels from all around the P tag. Very good. Now, the next thing we want to do is to go for these questions. So we're going to go for the card container and then questions. The display should be flex, but the flex direction should be column, so they are at the top of each other. And also, we're going to give it a gap of 10 pixels. Now let's go for each LI, and the LI should have a background color of 5F7888. We give it a padding of 16 pixels. Let's give it a border radius of 10 pixels. And let's give it a cursor pointer. So when we hover the mouse on the LIs, the cursor should change. Now let's go for the button. The button should have a margin top of 20 pixels. And we give it a padding of 14 pixels from top and left and 22 pixels from left. 14 pixels from top and bottom, 22 pixels from right and left. The border, we're going to make it transparent. Let's give it a border radius of 8 pixels. Let's give it a background color of 29353. Select the background, and let's give it a color of DFEBF6. And the cursor should be pointer as well. Very good. Now we actually need 2 extra classes. One of them is the correct class. So if the user gets a correct answer, it should the LI should have a border of 1 pixel solid, and the color should be 17C48A. This is actually the green color, and also the text color should be green as well. Now let me show you what happens. For example, we actually say that to this question, the right answer is const. So let's give it a class name, and we actually, we give it the class of correct. So if we give it the class of correct, you can see that the color is now green and the border is green as well. Now, if the user gives an incorrect answer, we're going to create a class of, let me copy this one. And let me write incorrect, and this color, I actually erase it and write here tomato. So the tomato color, and I actually give this one an incorrect class, so you can see that now the color is tomato. So if the user clicks on a wrong answer, the incorrect class should be activated. But if the caller clicks on a correct answer, the correct class should be activated on the li. So that is pretty much it for the UI of the project. Now this is the time to start with the logic and create this quiz app actually work. To do that, first we need a JS file, a separated JS file for our questions, because I don't want to make our application very messy. So I'm going to create a file here called questions inside the src folder, questions.js. Inside question.js, I'm going to create a variable constant, actually a const of questions, and it's an array. Now this array has many objects, and each object is a question. So the question is which keyword is used to declare a constant, let me close this one, a constant in JavaScript. And let's put a comma right here, and we're gonna say options, which are actually the answers, and options are arrays of answers. And let's create, the first one is var, which is actually the first answer, the first option, and then const, which is the correct option, let, and let's say static. So now we have 4 options, and we know that in JavaScript and pretty much all the other programming languages, the indexes start from 0. So this is index 0, 1, 2, 3. So the answer should be index number 1, which is actually the option number 2. So for that, I'm going to create a correct answer item, and I put 1. So just remember that 1 means const, not var. Var is index number 0. So let's copy and paste this question. Let me change the question. The next one is which hook is used for side effects in React? Now let's start typing here in the options. We say use state. Let's say use effect. Let's say use context, and finally use reducer. So the answer again should be index 1, which is actually use effect, which is the second answer. Now if I want this to be the first answer, I should put this 0, but I should write use effect right here. Now the correct answer is use effect, and the index of use effect is index 0. The next question is what does JSX stand for? Better than means. What does JSX stand for? Java, well, let's say JavaScript extra, I don't know, JavaScript syntax extension, JSON extreme, and the last one is the correct answer, JavaScript XML, which is actually the correct answer. So we should actually put the index of 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. So index number 3 is the correct answer. Let's go for the next question. Which company developed React? Google, Microsoft, Meta, or Facebook? I don't know, Meta. Nowadays it is called Meta, but nevertheless. Anyway, so the answer is Google, Microsoft. The answers are Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon, and the correct answer is actually Facebook. So we should say index 0, 1, 2. So the correct answer is index number 2. Let's go for the last question, I think. This is question number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yes, this is the last question. What is the virtual DOM? So, a copy of the real DOM, which is the correct answer. So we're going to put it to 0. The wrong answer is a database, which is not, definitely not. A CSS framework. We know that it is not a framework at all. A testing library. That's it. Very good. So now we need to export these questions, default questions, so we can use them actually in our JS app.jsx. So let's go to our app.jsx and let's say, up above the app.jsx, we need to import our file. And how can we do that? It's very simple. All we need to do is to import questions from, and then you open quotation marks, /, so you actually are in the current directory. So you choose questions, and that's it. Now, if I say, please console log the questions to make sure that they are working, they are there. Let's inspect our browser, and then you can see that we have here our questions. So the question number 1, for example. Okay, let me refresh. So this is question number 1. The correct answer is index number 1. And the options are var const static and question which keyword is used to declare blah, blah, blah. So the other questions are here as well. So we actually managed to import our questions successfully. Now it is time to start our application. All right, now the first thing we need to do is to import our useState hook. So we say import useState and then you enter. So this way you import your useState hook. Now let's erase this console log and const. So the first one is current question, and set current question is equal to useState, and the default value should be null. The next one, selected answer, set selected answer is equal to useState, and it should be null by default. Const is answered, set is answered, and let's give it a useState of false. Now the next one should be const score, set score, and useState, and the default value should be null. And const is finished, set is finished, and it should be equal to useState, and the default value should be false. Now let's check the current question. Obviously, for the current question, selected answer is the answer we're going to select. Is answered is the status of the question, whether the user has answered or not, which is false by default. Score is the score, and as finished is the status of the whole quiz. So if it's done, if the user has answered all the 5 questions, we're going to change it to true. Now let's create our functions. The first function is handle answer click. So let's say const handle answer click, and let's keep the index as the parameter, and we say if if one question is answered or the quiz is finished, it should return. So if the user clicks on an answer, nothing else can happen. The only thing that the user can do is to go to the next question. And even if the quiz is finished, is done, the user can do nothing except resetting the quiz. So if not, we should set selected answer to index, and let's set is answered to true. And let's say if the index is equal to questions, current question and the correct answer. So this way we actually can find that if the index inside the questions array, and let's check the current question, if this is the correct answer, if the index is equal to the correct answer, to the index of correct answer, it means that the user has answered correctly. So you should set the score +1. So we need to add 1 to the score. If the user actually answers incorrectly, this condition is not going to happen. So you're actually pretty much done with the handle answer click. Let's go for the handle next click, and we're going to handle this button. So if I click on this, it should go to the next question. Cons handle next click, and if the current question is less than questions dot length -1. So when we say -1, you know that you should always remember that the index has to start from 0. So in order to get the question's length, we know that all these questions start from index number 0. So we need this -1 in order to make them equal. So here we say set current question to current question +1. So if as long as we have as long as this is less than this one, we should actually get the current question and add 1 to the index so we can go to the next question. Set selected answer should be null. We actually reset the set selected answer situation, and set is answered should be false. Else set is finished, the text should be true. If it's not less than this one, then obviously the test is finished, and we should set is finished to true. Now that's it for the handle click. Now we have also a handle reset button, because when the quiz is done, when we get to the final question and when we answer, this doesn't make any sense to have a next question button. So we're going to change it to a reset button. So cons handle reset, and let's set current question to null, to 0 I mean. Set selected answer to null, and set is answered to false. Set score to 0, and set is finished to false. That's it. All right, now we need to apply all of these methods and functions that we created to this quiz form. So let's start from the top. Under this H1, let's create a condition. We say if the quiz is not finished, what do we need to do? We need to actually show this question, but else, and open another parenthesis and copy this p tag and put it here. Let's say test done, for example, for now. Perfect. Now, so if the test is not finished, this p tag is going to show up. If the test is finished, this p tag is going to show up. Now we need to make them dynamic. I'm going to erase this first one, I'm going to write the current question to get a number, and don't forget to use +1, because if you don't use that, it's going to use the index, obviously, and the number 0 is going to show up. We don't want a question number 0. So let's say current question +1, and let's put a colon here, and let's say the questions, let's go inside the array of questions. Let's get the current question, and from that object we need the property of question. So perfect. Now for this one, let's say quiz finished, for example, and your score, and then use colon. We should put score here. Let's use slash here, and we say questions length. So for example, if our questions length is 5, and we actually answered 3 questions, it's 3 out of 5 questions. Very good. Now let's go for this UL and questions. First things first, we need to say if the quiz is not finished, you can show this UL, because if it is finished, we're not going to show this one. Now, exactly under this UL, let's open and close curly braces. Let's say questions inside the questions array. Let's get the current question, and let's go for the options property. We're going to map through them. So we say each question is each option, should we actually call it as an option, and the index is going to be the key value, and open curly braces. So here, let's create a variable called class name, because I am actually handling this green or red class name that we need to give our correct answer and our false answer. So we actually created a variable called class name. We say if is answered, and after the user answers, if the index of the answer, let's go to the questions, the current question, if the index is equal to the correct answer, if the number of indexes is equal to the correct answer, you should give it a class name of correct. Else if the index is equal to selected answer, you should give it a class name of incorrect. Incorrect. That's it. So let me erase these class names here. Perfect. Now they all look like the same. And all right, after this condition, after this if condition, we need to return an open parenthesis, and you don't need all of these LIs. Let's delete 3 of them, and let's cut one of them and put it inside this return parenthesis. Now you can see we have 4 answers, but all of them are var, because we have a hard-coded var here. Let's delete this, and let's write here option. So you can see var, const, let, and static. Now the answers are dynamic. Now the LI should have a key of index, because we actually said that the index of the options are the key. So we're going to identify them using the index, and the class name should be equal to class name, which is dynamic, as we actually created. And on click, let's go up. On click, we should actually assign this handle answer click function to this one. So let's say on click, you should be assigned to handle click and index. Very good. Perfect. Now let's try it. I think now, yeah, perfect. It works. So if I answer correctly, it actually assigns the class of correct to the correct answer, but if you answer wrong, it actually assigns the class of incorrect to the selected answer and also shows you the correct answer. Now let's go for this button, because if I answer and if I click on next question, it doesn't go to the next question. So what I have to do is to go to this button, up above this button, and what I need to do is to say, open curly braces and say, if the test is not finished, and I'm gonna put a question mark here, open parentheses, and I'm going to cut this button inside this parentheses. Also, after these parentheses, you need to open another parentheses and put another button inside the second one. So, reset quiz. So, if the test is not finished, the next question button should show up, but else, sorry, I shouldn't have said but, else, which means if the test is finished, the button should be reset quiz. Now, let's say this button on click should do the handle next click, and this button on click should be handle reset. These are the functions that we already made, handle next click and handle reset. Now let's try our application. So the first question, the correct answer is cons, and let's go to the next question. Which hook is used for side effects in React? So useState, or useEffect. I actually clicked on the wrong answer, so we actually tested. Let's go for the next question. What does JSS stand for? So we know that the correct one is this one. So let's go to the next question. Let's which company developed React? Let's give it a wrong answer. It is Facebook, but we click on Microsoft. And what is the virtual DOM? It's a copy of the real DOM. And now, if we go to the next question, we see that there is no next questions. So we say quiz finished, your score is 3 out of 5. Now, if I reset the quiz, you can see that the quiz gets reset. So I can do the quiz again. There's one thing more I can do. This is the 5th question, and you know that again, it doesn't make any sense to put a next question for that because there's no next question. So this is something like if I am at the final question, this should be finish the test or finish the quiz, something like that. Now, if you want to make the finish quiz button to show up, you need to just enter a few times up above this next question button, and let's write a condition here. We say if the current question is equal to questions.length -1, what should you do? And then put a colon here, put another parenthesis, and put this button, next question button, inside here, and copy this again inside the first parenthesis. And now you can say this is finish quiz. So, but actually the function is the same, handle next click, because we want it to go to the next step. So now if I do the test again, and all right, now you can see in the 5th question we have finished the quiz, so we don't actually have a next question. So if I click on finish quiz, we have actually quiz finished, your score is 3 out of 5, and then reset the quiz.